Hey tank dorks, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a collaboration with footage from my friends at the Ontario Regiment Museum up in Oshawa, Canada. A Kino Tank Weekend is one of my favorite tank events for obvious reasons. It didn't occur this summer, and I was unable to go up and film and see some of the progress they've made expanding their collection as well as restoring some of their historical vehicles. So here's the next best thing. I'm going to hand you over to my friend Blair. He's a volunteer and a tank dork up at Ontario Regiment Museum, and he's going to share with you some of the restoration work for their Centurion tank. Check it out.
Hey, what's going on? My name's Blair. I'm a volunteer here at the Ontario Regiment RCAC Museum in Ontario, Canada. And right behind me we have the Centurion Restoration Project. Now, this Centurion in particular is a Centurion Mk, and it was in service in the Canadian Army as a trainer tank. Now, this restoration project has been very extensive. It was a gate guard for about 35-40 years, if I'm correct. Oh, the thing was rusted to all hell. The fenders on the sides you can see here, which are beautifully done by Malcolm Towery, Ken Courtney, other volunteers here at the museum. Beautifully done. We're starting to get the boxes on. I don't know if you can see on camera, but they just put the mufflers and the muffler covers on at the back. Wonderful job by them, wonderful job by my other co-workers, also volunteers here, Alex Edwards and Ben Spans. We have road wheels that we did. I don't know if you can see those either, this might be blocking it, but those are painted green. What we're going to do is we're going to actually replace those, since they're all the rubber's torn up. Going to replace those with Chieftain road wheels, because we have an extra set and they are the same, other than the fighting vehicle numbers or the FV numbers. If you've been on Discord or seen any other pictures of it online, you'll know it was gray a couple months ago, and just the visual presentation of the whole tank has improved greatly. And the reason it was gray is because this project was originally a gate guard. This tank sat outside a base, or I think a government building in Quebec for a while. I think it was Montreal, and sat there for 30-45 years. Wherever it was sitting closed down or moved, and they decided to give the tank to us. So this was, I think, about 20 years ago, way before my time, probably before I was even alive. It's been sitting outside before this wonderful MVCC was built, and just kind of collected dust for a while. But in the past 2 years we've made incredible progress. Malcolm Towery and Ian Hunter, as well as Colton Hooper, who are also volunteers here. All of them are brilliant. Love working alongside them. They have done the bulk of this work. I just kind of paint and sweep up occasionally. This particular Centurion Mk was actually a trainer tank in the Canadian military. Now, this means that since it was a trainer tank, not all of the parts are necessarily matching. What me and Malcolm and Ian think that happened to this tank is that in training, since it was a gate guard, after training, that they took some parts off of it. Like, we think it was supposed to have the 105mm L7 cannon, and right now it has a 20-pounder on it, which I guess is a significant downgrade, but when you're using it as a training tank, I guess it doesn't really matter. So what I have the camera focused on now is the undercarriage of the tank. Now, what you can see is this big box right here is a bogie for the suspension. 2 road wheels, these two, the return roller right here, the fender, and a storage box. Now, this storage box and fender was just redone by the project lead Malcolm Towery. You might be thinking, wow, this is really nice for a tank's undercarriage, and well, yeah, it is, because we had to just redo it. So what the move was is this was all rusted, so we had to grind it off. Same with the wheels, we had to grind all the paint off, grind the rust off, get it all down to not necessarily bare metal, but enough so that we could put primer and paint on it, that it would look clean and stay. What we did is we used a flapper wheel and a needle scaler, and I think we sandblasted some parts, and this was the end product. Now, these wheels, as you might be able to see by this chunk here, are by no means new. Now, what we're planning to do is replacing all of these road wheels with Chieftain road wheels, because we have an extra set, and they're in better condition. These are very old, very scrappy. This was used as a training tank, so they probably got torn up by new recruits. So they're not in the best condition. I wouldn't want to run in the arena with these, but we might have to for a couple. That's just how it is. So these may be painted, but we're probably going to be replacing these. Now, these return rollers, we don't have any extras, but they're not really a load-bearing part, so we don't really need to replace them. Now, this fender that you see here, this was just beautifully done by Malcolm. The old fenders, basically what happened in the old fenders and boxes is that it all rusted through right about here, and water was left to pool on the underside of it. So what happened is, since water was left to pool, it rusted through the bin, through the fender, and it left the fenders all torn up and pinholed. Well, not pinholed, but you had big chunks missing out about this big. So those had to be redone, rewelded. This one is a completely new fabricated one. It's not original, but again, it is what it is. If you can't replace a part, then you're gonna have to fabricate it. So they did a beautiful job with the fenders in the boxes. Actually, my first Aquino, which was in 2018, I came up to the Centurion. I was like, wow, it's really rusty. And I was able to put my hand through the bottom of the box right about here, just right through, take out a handful of rusted metal and drop it on the floor. So clearly we've come an extra long way, and now we'll go take a look at the mufflers. Now for everybody's favorite end, the business end. Now, it might not look like much is going on here, but this was pretty much all just redone. So the gun mount for travel position, the muffler cover, the fender struts, and the fenders themselves. You might be thinking, why is it not green? Well, we haven't got around to painting yet. Good things come in time. The mufflers have just been redone. When we took them off, I managed to stick my arm in them and pull the baffles out. Now, the baffles are basically a small metal pipe with a lot of holes in it to kind of muffle the sound of the engine. Now, the engine in this is a 27-liter naturally aspirated Rolls-Royce V12 Meteor engine, producing about 650 horsepower. And while it sounds very nice, it is extremely loud, and there's some pretty serious mufflers on this thing. They're about 3 feet long, about 7-8 inches thick from top to bottom, and about, I'd say, a foot wide, so they're pretty beefy. They're pretty beefy, and they're very good at muffling sound. This tank is actually one of the quieter ones I've heard, compared to, for example, an M4 Sherman. So these mufflers were also redone by Malcolm, and they look wonderful. We don't have the exhaust tips on it yet, but a story that happened with these is the reason the mufflers were so rusted out, and you could basically just pull chunks of the muffler out from the inside with your bare hands, like you were grabbing sand off a beach, is because it's either they were installed on the wrong sides or the exhaust tips were mounted upwards. Now, usually they're mounted down like this to prevent water from getting in, but since they were forking upwards like this, they collected a lot of water on the inside, and they were very rusted and in very poor condition. What Malcolm had to do is he had to cut them open and weld new patches on, put new baffles in. Now they're mounted on the tank, and it's almost ready to rip. And I know what you're wondering. Why is this tank so dummy thick? Now, this is because it has a 100-gallon fuel tank on the back. Now, this is technically a Centurion Mk 5 LR. LR standing for long range. And the difference between a regular Centurion and an LR variant of a Centurion is the long-range fuel tank on the back. Now, you might have seen Centurions with the trailers for fuel tanks, and you might have thought, oh, that's for the flamethrower. No, this is a gas-guzzling engine that gets about a mile to a gallon of basically high-octane gasoline. So, not cheap, not very efficient. So they decided to install the 100-gallon fuel tank on the back. So this extends the range by about 100%. So it can now go 200 miles, which isn't that far, but I guess for the 50s when this thing was designed and put into service, that was pretty damn good. This will be taking the field in probably in Aquino. You can come see it live. We're located at 1000 Stevenson Road North in Oshawa, Ontario.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I recommend that you keep up with the Ontario Regiment Museum. I've posted their social media links down in the description below. They do an awesome job and are super active with posting different event dates for the next year, as well as their restoration projects and pieces of their collection and their history. So check them out. If you like this video, go ahead and throw it a like and subscribe to my channel for some more tankery and tank adventures, and I'll see you next time.